The forest was alive with strange colors. Under the twin moons, the trees shimmered in pale green and violet, their leaves glowing faintly in the dim light. Captain Elias Drake stepped carefully over thick roots and uneven ground. He had explored hundreds of worlds in his life, but something about this planet made him uneasy. The air was thick, almost wet, and carried a faint metallic smell. Yet it wasn't dangerous, or at least it hadn't shown itself to be so yet. Elias's team had been sent to survey this remote sector for possible human colonization. He knew the work was routine, yet out here everything felt fragile, as if one wrong step could awaken the unknown. He stopped for a moment, listening. The forest was quiet except for the distant hum of bioluminescent insects. Then he heard it, a faint, almost inaudible cry. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything he had ever heard before. He froze, instincts sharpening. The sound came again, soft and fragile like a whisper carried on the wind. Elias signaled to his team to stay back. Moving slowly, he followed the sound through dense undergrowth, pushing past thick vines and twisted branches. Then he saw her. She crouched near the edge of a small stream, her body small and frail. She was unlike anything Elias had seen. Her skin was pale, almost transparent under the moonlight, without hair, and entirely bare except for a thin cloth that hung loosely over her shoulders. Her feet were bare and dirty, pressed against the rough forest floor. She was trembling. Fear radiated from her in waves. Elias's heart tightened. The girl, if she could be called that, didn't speak, didn't move much, but her wide, round eyes locked onto his. There was something in them, an unspoken plea, a fragile cry for help that went beyond words. He knelt slowly, keeping his hands visible. "It's okay," he said softly, though he wasn't sure she would understand. "I won't hurt you." She flinched but didn't run. Her eyes were large and wet. Something about the way she watched him made Elias understand that she had known only fear for most of her life. He extended his hand, holding out a small pouch of nutrient paste. At first she didn't move. Then hunger overcame caution and she inched forward, taking the pouch delicately. Elias watched as she ate, seeing her body shiver with relief. He realized that this creature had been alone for a long time. "You have a name?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "No name?" Another shake. She pointed to herself, then to the forest, then back to him. He frowned. Whatever had happened here, she had been abandoned or lost. She had no language, no shoes, no care, no family. Elias made a quick decision. He motioned for her to follow, speaking softly. "Come with me. You'll be safe." It took time. Every few steps she would stop, flinch at a sound, or drop to the ground from exhaustion. Elias guided her, offering water, holding her hand when necessary. The journey to the base camp, usually 15 minutes, took almost an hour. By the time they arrived, the sky was painted with pale colors as the twin moons' light faded slightly. The base was small, a simple shelter made from reinforced materials. Inside, Elias prepared a place for her with blankets and soft mats. She hesitated at first, her eyes scanning every corner as if expecting danger at any moment. He sat near her quietly, letting her observe and adjust. "Bath first," he said softly, drawing water into a shallow basin. He heated it slightly, making sure it was comfortable, not too hot, not too cold. He set it before her and waited. She stepped in slowly, almost tentatively, pressing her bare feet into the warm water. At first nothing happened. Then a shudder ran through her body. A sob broke from her lips. Soft at first, then louder, almost overwhelming. She sank lower, letting the water cover her thin body, and the tears flowed freely. Elias stood back, unsure of what to do. He had rescued many creatures before, but he had never seen someone cry like this. It was more than sadness. It was years of fear, loneliness, and pain pouring out at once. He stayed silent, letting her release what had been trapped inside. Slowly, he realized that she had never been cared for, never touched with gentleness, never allowed to feel safe. Every shiver, every sob was a memory she couldn't speak, a story she had no words for. After a long time, she leaned back in the water, her small hands covering her face. Her body was still trembling, but the sobs were softer. Elias gently placed a hand near the basin, offering quiet companionship. She didn't move away this time. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a soft blanket, her eyes were red, and her expression was exhausted but calmer. She sat on the mat, pressing her knees close, staring at the floor. Elias crouched beside her. "You're safe now," he said again. "I'm not going anywhere." She didn't speak. She didn't nod. She simply watched him, And in that quiet moment, Elias understood something. This alien girl, though fragile and nameless, had sparked a deep human instinct in him, a desire to protect, to nurture, to help her heal. Elias gave her food and water, helping her eat slowly, patiently. She was hesitant at first, but gradually began to eat without fear. Afterward, she lay down on the mat, curling into herself. Elias sat outside, gazing at the forest under the twin moons. He thought about the dangers she had survived, the unknown forces that had left her alone, barefoot and hairless in this strange world. He thought about the fragility of life in the galaxy, and the resilience that life could sometimes show, even in forms humans didn't understand. The night was quiet, except for the faint hum of the forest. In the distance, he could hear small creatures moving, and the leaves swayed softly. Elias's mind wandered to the future. How would he help her? Could he teach her? Could he protect her from a universe that had already taken so much? Inside, the girl slept fitfully. She shifted, murmured softly, and pressed the blanket closer. Elias watched, silently promising that tomorrow would be a better day. He would find a way to help her feel safe, to heal, to grow. As he finally leaned back against a tree, Elias realized that this mission, initially routine, had become something far greater. It wasn't just exploration anymore. It was protection, compassion, and perhaps even friendship. And in the lonely vastness of space, that mattered more than anything else. The twin moons cast their light over the camp, bathing the forest in a serene glow. Elias's thoughts were clear. He had found something precious, something fragile and nameless yet full of potential. And no matter what came next, he would not abandon her. The night stretched on, quiet and deep. Outside, the forest whispered. Inside, the alien girl dreamed. And somewhere between fear and hope, a bond began to form. A bond that would change both of their lives forever. The morning sun filtered through the luminescent trees, casting soft light across the small camp. Elias sat outside, sipping warm water from a metal cup. He glanced at the alien girl, who was awake and watching him with wide, curious eyes. She had slept more peacefully than the night before, though there were still shadows under her eyes, remnants of exhaustion and fear. Elias decided today they would start slowly, building trust and understanding. He approached her gently. "Do you want to eat?" he asked, showing her a small tray of simple food. She nodded, cautiously reaching out to touch it. Elias smiled softly. Her hands were delicate, almost like glass, and her movements were careful, as if she feared breaking something invisible. He watched her eat, noticing small changes. She was curious, glancing at his utensils, mimicking his movements, and even attempting to scoop food on her own. Each small success was a victory. Elias realized that survival for her had been instinct alone. Now she was learning safety, comfort, and care. After breakfast, Elias guided her to a clearing nearby. "Walk with me," he said. She hesitated but followed. The forest floor was rough, roots and rocks hidden beneath soft moss. Her feet had been hardened by years of walking barefoot. Yet every step was careful, as if she was relearning her body. Elias kept pace beside her, speaking softly. "You're doing well. Look at the trees. Can you see the colors?" She looked, tilting her head. The forest shimmered under the twin moons, though in daylight it was a more muted palette of greens, blues, and violet. She reached out, touching a leaf, and let out a soft, unfamiliar sound. It was not a word, but it carried meaning, curiosity, wonder, and perhaps the first hint of joy she had ever felt. Elias realized that she was beginning to see the world not just as a place of danger, but as something alive and beautiful. He felt a surge of hope. Over the next few hours, he continued to teach her. They practiced simple tasks, gathering small fruits, carrying water, and even basic self-care. She learned quickly, her body adapting to the new routines. Elias noticed small signs of intelligence beyond mere survival instincts. She remembered patterns, anticipated his movements, and responded to his gestures. But it wasn't just physical training. Elias knew her emotional healing was equally important. He spoke gently, telling her stories of humans, of courage, kindness, and resilience. She listened, wide-eyed, sometimes tilting her head as if trying to understand not just the words but the emotions behind them. By mid-afternoon, she grew restless. Elias could sense her unease. The forest seemed calm, yet instinct told him to stay alert. They were not alone. A faint sound reached his ears, a mechanical hum, barely audible over the forest's natural chorus. He froze, scanning the surroundings. "Stay close," he whispered. The girl instinctively moved closer to him, gripping his arm with a soft touch that was more trusting than before. From the tree line emerged a small scouting drone. It was metallic, sleek, and foreign, scanning the area with bright sensors. Elias frowned. This was not ordinary wildlife. Someone or something was searching for the girl. He realized with a cold certainty that her past had followed her here. Elias acted quickly, guiding the girl behind a thick tree. "We need to move. Stay low, stay quiet." The drone hovered above, its sensors sweeping the clearing. Elias knew he had to think fast. He pulled a small device from his pack, a signal jammer, and activated it. The drone sputtered, its systems failing, and it crashed into the undergrowth with a metallic clang. The girl gasped, clutching his arm. Elias knelt beside her. "It's okay. No one can hurt you here." She looked up at him, her eyes wide but not filled with fear this time. There was trust. Small, fragile, but unmistakable. After the drone incident, Elias knew they had to be careful. They returned to the camp using a longer, hidden path. He set up extra precautions, tripwires, alarms, and safe spaces for her to hide if needed. She watched him, fascinated by the devices, and tried to imitate his actions, helping him set small sensors. It was the first time he saw her contribute actively, and he felt a surge of pride. The following days were filled with slow, deliberate progress. Elias taught her more complex tasks, using basic tools, crafting simple clothes to protect her feet, and learning the rhythms of the forest. She discovered small abilities of her own. Her skin glowed faintly in certain lights, and she reacted to subtle changes in the environment that humans could not notice. Elias was careful, observing her without interference, letting her explore her strengths. Her emotional growth was more remarkable. She began laughing softly at small jokes Elias made. She mimicked his gestures with increasing accuracy, and there were moments when she would simply sit beside him, watching the forest with a quiet contentment. Each laugh, each gesture, each shared glance deepened the bond between them. One evening under the twin moons, Elias noticed her staring at the river that ran near the camp. "Do you want to try crossing it?" he asked gently. She hesitated, stepping back. She had never faced water alone in her life. Elias nodded, understanding her fear. "I will be right here," he said. "You can do it." Slowly, she stepped into the shallow part of the river. Water lapped against her small legs. She froze. Elias stayed at the edge, offering encouragement without pressure. Step by step she moved forward, wobbling, uncertain but determined. Halfway across she paused, panic flickering in her eyes. Elias extended his hand. She took it, gripping tightly. With his support, she reached the other side. She stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, then turned to him and let out a sound, a soft, almost musical utterance that Elias didn't understand. Yet it felt like her first word of triumph. That night she slept more peacefully than ever. Elias watched her for a long time, thinking about her journey. From a fragile, terrified girl to someone beginning to trust, laugh, and explore, she had grown in just days. Yet he knew there was more work ahead. Her past could still reach her, and the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. The next morning he noticed something new. She had found a small patch of flowers near the camp and was carefully arranging them in patterns. It was subtle, almost meditative. Elias realized that this was her way of expressing herself, creating order in a world that had offered her none. He smiled quietly. She was learning to live, not just survive. Weeks passed. Elias and the girl became a team. She followed his guidance but also showed independence. She could sense small dangers, react quickly, and even anticipate his movements during simple tasks. They developed a silent language of gestures, glances, and expressions. It was not perfect, but it worked. One evening, as they sat beside the river, she looked at Elias and made the same sound she had uttered after crossing it. This time Elias understood. It was her name. Not a human name, not an alien name he could recognize, but a sound she had chosen for herself. It was imperfect, strange, yet full of meaning. Identity, hope, and belonging all wrapped into a single syllable. Elias nodded, smiling. "I like that name," he said softly. "It's yours." For the first time she returned the smile fully, her small teeth showing. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. This fragile being, who had survived unimaginable hardship, had begun to heal. Her laughter, her curiosity, and her strength were testament to the resilience of life, even in the most unlikely forms. The story of the nameless, hairless alien girl without shoes had changed. She was no longer just a victim of her circumstances. With Elias by her side, she had a future, one where she could grow, explore, and discover her own strength. And for Elias, the experience reminded him why humans had always survived in the galaxy: compassion, courage, and the willingness to protect others, even those completely different from themselves, were as powerful as any weapon. As the twin moons rose again, casting their serene light over the forest, Elias and the alien girl sat together by the riverbank. They did not speak. They did not need to. A bond had formed, unspoken but unbreakable, and in the quiet of that alien world, a human and a once fragile, once nameless girl looked toward a future full of possibility, hope, and a new kind of strength neither had known before. The galaxy was vast. Their journey had just begun, but for the first time both of them felt ready.